Okay.
All right.
According to this thing, we're live.
We're live.
But I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone out there.
Tell if there are
Oh, we have 0 viewers. So no, there's
where?
Like if you look at the bottom right, it says we have 0 viewers. So we can say whatever we want right now.
They're like, actually, that's not what that means.
we could string just the longest line of obscenities, and it would be cool.
And then people like log on, they're like, motherfucker, what?
What are they talking about? Or just like, just kind of talk shit about people. Yeah, and that Eric Trizolar, I can't stand him anyway. Doesn't matter. There's no consequences.
No consequences. That's a good motto.
You start a studio, and that's your motto. No consequences. YOLO.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Geeky.
How's New York?
Oh, it's awesome. I'm gonna find a bike. What?
It's totally your type of town.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it. But I'm like, I have to actually go and join a co-working space because I do anything but work. I'm like, well, I'll just go to a coffee shop and work. And then I walk around for like hours, and then I'm like, maybe I should go home.
Yeah. That stuff is important. I'm running into that too, where it's like, I've actually been able to get a bunch of stuff done, but you go to a cafe and you just sit like, oh, I should drop it by that store. I wanted to pick up some pencils or.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what would be great? It's like within walking distance, there are art stores. And so I'm like, what would be great and what would help me focus is if I had a new pen right now, I can't work without a new pen.
It's always in the auspice of like, oh, I need to do this. This is something I need to. It's going to help me be more efficient.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be more efficient. Like it's just going to help me get in the groove better. Oh man,
never happens.
Yeah, no.
3 viewers. 3 viewers logged on.
3 viewers.
Yeah. Hi guys. We're not officially live, so you guys are seeing secret behind the scenes stuff.
How can they talk to us?
Hey, click on your Q&A.
On the Q&A, or is there can they talk to group chat?
There might be a chat too. I think if you hit the chat window, but I think if you open up the official Q&A, people can say things because I see Bobbin.
Oh, yeah.
He said hi.
Hey,
hi, Bobbin.
There we go. Cool.
I hope I pronounced your name right. Is that right, Bobbin? Cool.
Is there a control where we can control room? Okay, I can only see us in the control room. Can you see? I don't know where you're seeing these users.
If you go over, there's a little Q&A app. I think you might have to
no, I see the Q&A app. I just don't see where you see there's a number of people.
Oh, if you look down to the bottom, you can see the name of the stream, the Book of MOJO, Coffee Talk with Emma and Everett. Now we have 5 viewers. Boop, boop, boop. It just jumped up.
I don't see it at all.
That's weird. And what about the Q&A? Do you see questions on the right?
I see questions on the right. Yes. Hey, cool. Yes.
Sweet.
All right. So questions is how they can communicate with us.
So they can communicate and ask us things. So. Cool.
Yeah. So we can go back to talking about how you stay disciplined working from home because I want to know that.
It's very efficient.
Gladdy Faith. Is that how we pronounce it? Gladdy Faith.
Oh, cool. Oh, and I got Bobbin's name right. I feel good. I hate getting people's names wrong. Yeah, so right now we have 9 viewers. We have 1 minute.
All right, 1 minute till
1 minute before we go live. Hope you guys are excited. I'm super excited. I'm actually gonna give you guys a quick sneak peek or something. Let me see if I can open it.
All right, we got that Canadian gamer. Hello, Canadian gamer.
Oh, nice. All right, here, really quick before we go live, I'm gonna show you guys some cool stuff we've been working on. Really quickly. This is a test. We're doing this thing. We're gonna do 2D and 3D combined. So we're doing like 3D for the characters and background and stuff, and we want to do 2D for all the effects. So we just did a simple test. Oh wait, no, this is just the animation test. It doesn't have the 2D in it. That is
cute.
Yeah, that's the new character. We went in a different direction. We are like totally digging it. So, but that was just for you guys. And now we're live. Hi, everybody. Now we're live.
Oh, hey, they can open the chat. We can open the chat option. Wait, group chat. I'm in the group chat.
You can?
This is what they're saying in the Q&A. This is, you can open the chat option in the right.
Yeah, upper left or right? You guys got to bear with us. This is the first time we've done it. We got 10 viewers now. I'm starting to feel the pressure. Cool. Awesome. Oh, it says, yeah, you can open the chat option on the right. I will let you figure that out.
I have no idea. I can't even see how many people we have.
Yeah, I see we have 10 viewers. And I see the group chat. Yeah, it's over here on the right now, but I don't see anybody typing in there yet. So if you guys are interested in trying the chat, if you look in upper left at the top, there's a blue little speaky thing. I think if you click on that, you should be able to like chat with us. Either that, if that's not working, we can just stick with the Q&A side. Cool. Cool. Yeah, let's just start talking. We'll figure out the rest of this stuff later. What do you think? As we go. We got we have lots of people here, at least 11 people who
awesome.
Stuff, so cool. So yeah. Should we go back? Like before we get started, we should maybe reframe. Hi everybody. Welcome to Coffee Talk.
Welcome to Coffee Talk.
I hope you brought your coffee. I have mine with my
Oh, nice. I've got mine from Local 123 in Berkeley. My favorite coffee shop from back there.
Very nice. Very nice. This is just like very casual conversation. You know, you guys can throw in some questions for us, and you know, we'll try to slip some in there. But me and Emma have known each other for a while, and this has kind of become our thing. We just like to.
Oh yeah! Hey, look! It says that I'm talking off screen. I mean, Bavin says I'm off screen.
How is that possible? Oh, you know, is she on screen now? Is there a way we can kind of go back and forth here? Let's see. Oh, let me go to the control room. I think I know this. Okay, cool. How about now? Is this working better now? Yes. Yes. Cool. Yes. He sees you now. But I think there's a setting where it kind of goes back and forth. So hopefully that setting is working. It's like whoever talks, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, like gets like it should switch between the two of us. So
multiple replicate. Whoa.
We should have tested this a little more.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mock asks.
Oh, Mock, here we go. So what inspired you to take the look of the main character in a different direction? Oh, okay. So actually that's an interesting thing. Like when I did the teaser, I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. But I kind of felt like it was very like I'd seen that a lot. Actually, that's really just me wanting to try something different. Like I've seen like the heavily textured, like super realistic type of thing before, and I kind of wanted to steer away from that. Plus, I wanted to try like this juxtaposition. You know, I wanted to kind of like have a cool, edgy sort of plot line, but with like characters that are a little bit more exaggerated. Like I'm a huge fan of like Jamie Hewlett and you know some of those guys. So I really wanted to try pushing. Yeah. I really want to try pushing like the character designs and that sort of thing. So, but is it switching back and forth? I hope so.
Is it?
I have no idea.
Guys, is it?
Is it? I'm gonna ask you guys. Maybe we control that.
Oh yeah, okay. We see both of you, but we don't have the option to chat yet.
Mm.
And good morning. Let's see. I'm gonna Google around, but how is it in LA? Is it not cold? Oh, Cap, what? What are you doing?
Me?
You just
That
opened
was,
Capture.
yeah, I closed it really quickly because I clicked the wrong button.
All right.
How's it in LA?
Yeah, how's it in LA?
It's cool. Like today's really nice. Yes, it's been warm, like super hot the last couple of days. So, you know, I always retreat
Man.
inside.
Yeah.
You know, super hot. And I got like a weird cave house. Like for some reason, it just gets super cold in here. So I just sit in here and like I'm always freezing. And I go outside for.
So you like a sweater, and then you go outside. You have to.
Yeah, exactly. How's New York?
Oh, it's pretty freezing today, but it's supposed to get warmer. I have a question.
Yeah.
Let me scroll through.
That's cool.
Okay. You have to make sure that you don't select one person or it stays locked to them. You may have to set it to lock. Okay.
Good morning, Jessica. I just saw you.
These are not really in order.
Yeah. You can select them and they'll go up. Like if you choose the
question, okay.
Just select them and they'll come
I'm gonna assume that they can both see us.
Yeah.
See both of us. Okay.
Yep. Let's do it.
Yeah, so my question is, like, what does a day in the life look like when you're working in a studio versus when you're working on your own thing?
Wow. Well, it's a lot less complicated in the studio. It's like, you go in, you have your assignments. It's really easy to like kind of, okay, so, when I was animating, it's like I had my scenes and I would just sit down and I would just start working on it. Actually, I would come in, I'd have my coffee, sometimes I'd run to you and we'd talk for like an hour before we get started.
Very productive.
Then I would saunter in and I would work on my shots. It's very orderly. And then I would have, dailies and that sort of thing. When you're doing, when kind of off on your own, and especially like when you're like working on your own thing, it's like you got to kind of prioritize, which I'm getting much better. In the beginning, I was like, oh, I got to do this and I got to do this. And like, I would have to like just physically like stop myself, like, okay, hold on. What do I need to get done? So now I have the love of the checklist. So I have my checklist. And I just have like my priorities, like what's the most important thing for today? And I just try to get as many of those done as possible. That's the only way to keep sane. Otherwise, you're just like, trust me, when we launched, I was like insane because like I'm checking my, checking like the feeds and like I'm also reaching out to people, emailing. Like I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. It was crazy.
Okay, Ev, will you select you because it says it's not. They say it's not switching again.
Here, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna select you and see if it switches. Does it switch now, guys?
Put it in the Q&A. Help us out.
This will help you guys out. Let's see. Cool.
Or you could tweet at me, and then I'll be able to see that.
Oh. That's funny. It's a video on how to run a Google Hangout. We should have watched that before we started this.
Oh, no. Okay, yeah. So that was not on the checklist.
Yes, next time. Cool.
Okay.
Are we switching back? Are we switching now? We should be. That's everyone.
No.
It's funny, there's not a, hold on, here, let's see here. I'm back in the control room.
Got.
Questions, answer questions. What is this? That's a showcase. And then the control room just allows you to control. Okay, cool. I wonder why we don't have the options for like.
Okay, it did switch, says Brandon.
Okay, cool. All right, cool.
And Canadian Gamer says it's not switching. So this, why don't you just select it on you, Ev, and then they can just listen. We can all listen to my.
Why don't we do
voice.
this? I can control it. I can just be the cameraman. I can do that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Let's do that. Let's talk.
All right. So checklists are very important. We've got a question here of what was your thought process when deciding between 2D and 3D for the pilot? Did you entertain the idea of animating it in 2D?
I did. So I'm going to be honest, it's all experience based. It was all like, you know, my career has been mired in 3D, and I dig it as a medium. I did contemplate it. I just never run a 2D show or anything like that, so I was like, I didn't know much about the process, and I wanted for like my first outing, I wanted to do something in an arena I was familiar with. You know what I mean? I did like 2D is like I love it, but I have very little experience. So maybe at some point later I'll do a 2D thing, but for right now.
Yeah, I think that kind of like goes to the idea of like, okay, so you might like be super passionate about like what 2D looks like, but if your experience is all in the production pipeline of 3D, like,
right.
Yeah, you don't have to draw backgrounds, you build the set and then find the shots. Like there's a whole, it's a completely different process.
Exactly. And I didn't want to like, you know, like I knew there were, we always talk about this. Remember, we always talk about like, you know, always start simple and then build in complexity later. Although
yes,
I don't know,
start with what you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that always like blows up to bigger than what you think.
I don't know if I ever followed that advice because you know, always try to keep it simple. But
yeah, Josh, Adventures in Gay. Josh is asking, working in animation, which is already relatively diverse, which I don't know if that's true exactly. Do you see yourself as a minority? Do you think being Black has been an advantage or disadvantage? Hard-hitting questions. Holy shit.
All right. Oh, we started off early. All right, let's do this. I've always felt like I never felt like it was personally helping or hindering me. Like I felt like I've had a pretty great career path. Like I've worked at like Blue Sky, and then from Blue Sky I was able to work at Pixar, and like I feel I can jump around. I will say that I don't see a lot in the feature level. Like I would say that like only a few years ago I was connected with Jamal Bradley, and like, you know, I've met a lot more like Bruce Smith and a bunch of other people, but it does feel more like an anomaly than anything else. I think in the TV realm there's a lot more.
That's weird to like when I worked on Dragons animation, like that was something that was interesting, was there were more women and like there was a lot more diversity in just the small area of TV I worked in, which is weird to me. Like feature animation, not so much.
No, and you just, you know, you feel like I felt like an anomaly. I'm like, man, this is weird, man. I'm just not seeing a lot of people that look like me. It's just bizarre, which is why like I've always wrestled like going into television, but there's that part of me that's like, you know, I got to stick it on feature because, you know, I got to show that it's viable. Like I want other people of color to be like, yeah, I want to do that too. Well, Everett's in feature, I can make it in feature, that sort of thing, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's always a balance between like, do you want to stick your neck out and like, you're probably going to have to like work harder and like do a lot more, just kind of like blaze the trail, right? Blaze the trail, or like kind of keep your head down, but then you're not visible.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it.
We've got a question from Jess. Is your animation team local or connected online? We did have a few like Twitter questions, like to the production Twitter of like, what, like, are you voice casting remotely? Like what, how spread out are things?
It's pretty crazy. Like, so right now our guys are everywhere. So I would say the lion's share of the guys are here in LA. So a lot of the guys who are doing character designer here and some of the animators, but then we have a good sized contingent in New York. And there's like, I think we have someone in Texas. There's actually someone in Sweden. They're all over the place, and it's been a challenge, you know what I mean? But like all the people who jumped on are like just super excited about it, you know, and they're bringing like a lot of excitement to the project, which is what I wanted. Like I wanted everyone to be like, you know, like we want to do this because we're passionate about it and we think it's fun, you know, that sort of thing. But it has been challenging.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
How did you find the people, like, how did you find your person in Texas and your Swedish person?
A lot of it's referrals. So people on the team, I'll go like, man, we need another modeler on the team. And someone would be like, oh, I know somebody, but, you know, she just moved to Sweden. And I'm like, that's cool, you know, we can email stuff, you know. So
yeah,
that was easy, you know, to like, now, like, I'm telling you, like, you can just, we've been using Zoom a lot for our meetings, our conferences and stuff like that. And it's crazy what you can do. Like, we'll have reviews and stuff like that online. So, I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot more viable. It is hard though, because like when people are like around, you feel like, you know, if I want to go talk to like Michael, I'm using Mike because he's there. Hey, Mike. If I want to go to Mike and I'm in the studio, I can just walk over and I'd be like, Mike, man, let's take a look at these boards or whatever.
Yeah.
But now I have to like schedule a meeting, and sometimes like which is tough because I'm very.
Well, and like so much of like the kind of like working through like creative problems can be just like the like, oh, I'm so like burned out right now. Let's grab a coffee, and then like you come back around and like, oh yeah, okay, like this might be the solution I've been looking for. Like, there's no exact science to it.
Yeah, it's really
definitely
weird.
A lot of momentum that like you sacrifice for like you get great talent that's not local, but it's really hard to like keep that that energy level.
It is, and I miss that part of it too, because like, you know, there's like definitely a chemistry thing that's involved with that. So, but yeah, maintaining that is like the big key, like trying to keep that excitement level up. And I found like people, like everybody on the team, when they see stuff, that's when like, you know, energy level starts to run a little bit low, and then we'll get like a cool animation test and people are like, oh man, let's do it, you know, and like get like supercharged again. So yeah, it's like, and just like seeing what somebody else does. I mean, I'm sure that's been like exciting for you, seeing like you started off the project, but then seeing what people are able to pick up and run with, and then they come back to you, and then like that's the part where you get all inspired by that again. And it's funny because it's like when I see that stuff, I'm like, man, this is so much cooler than, you know. But I mean, that's what happens when you get a lot of heads on things. Like, you bounce off ideas, and like the way Mojo looks now is so awesome. Like it's just like, you know, when one person does something by themselves, like, you can do some really cool stuff. But I mean, everybody needs a little bit outside influence. Like, things evolve and get better by like collaborating and like sharing ideas.
Okay, we're getting a couple questions about what's your distribution plans. Are you trying to pitch to feature studios like Marvel, Disney, or Pixar, like big time players? Are you thinking about Vimeo, Hulu, or Netflix as an outlet for the final?
Yeah. So
I think like the final movie is a pilot, right? Like, so we're not talking about this is going to be a like short film or a feature film. This is a pilot for a series.
Yeah. So basically, the way we are looking at it is like we want to fund production on the pilot, like on the short that would act as pilot or as proof of concept for this idea. There's two reasons we were looking for crowdfunding it. One was to like show that like, oh, this is something that people are excited about, and also to build a fan base, you know what I mean? Because like we were feeling that like, you know, let's get this out to like the audience at large and see if this is something they want to see. We are also kind of strategizing like, well, what's the, you know, how do we want to do this? Do we want to do a series? Do we want to do feature? As it's written right now, it could really work well as a feature. But like there's so many really awesome options. Like now there's a lot of cool things going on with like Netflix and Hulu and that sort of thing. So we really want to have this short as like proof of concept, show that like, hey, number one, look, there's a huge audience that's super excited. They want to see this, and this is what it could look like when it's done. So that's kind of the goal. And we would just kind of work from there. You know, it's just, we're really trying to get people's attention and try to get like people excited to show that there's an audience out there that's like super jazzed to see something like this, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something where like having worked in the studio system and working with executives and like pitching, there's so much of a thing of like, if you have the audience, like if you can say like, look, these are all the people who are interested, like we have an audience, like studios can identify something that's good when it's right there in front of them. They just can't always like identify something that's going to be good. So it's much easier to get somebody to sign off on something where they can see like the execution and the audience like right there concrete in front of them than to say like, well, like my vision is, that's kind of something you get with a track record, right?
Right. I mean, and it's all about like, you know, simple investment, you know, or like even high stakes poker. It's like when you're putting a certain amount of money on the line and you want to like, you know, it's hard for like large studios to kind of make a gamble on somebody like who like, well, this is a cool idea, but is there an audience for this right now? Like what's the trend, that sort of thing. For guys like us who are like smaller, like more indie, or like even like, you know, creatives who just kind of have ideas, that's the best thing about just even being around right now with Tumblr and like all these other options. You can get stuff out there and get a response really quickly from people. Just like, it's like, hey, I came up with a crazy idea. How about like a howler monkey that wants to be, Star Search like hero? What do you think? You know, and you put that out into the world and see if people go apeshit over it or not. You know, like that's the cool thing about, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So we got a question about what is Alchemy Engine? Number one. What is it?
Yeah. So Alchemy Engine is so basically, just, you know, I'll give you the boring part first. When you're doing something like this, like crowdfunding, that sort of thing, it's cool. It's good to set up an LLC for the money because, you know, just it's easier to have like a little business thing that takes care of that. But also like Alchemy Engine is kind of like my idea for like a think tank or an idea, like a name like that. It would be like a think tank. So people like me and whoever wanted to be a part of it and like just generate ideas. Like the concept behind it is like transforming animation, you know, or not animation, transforming imagination, you know. So it was
like
just
a development house, pretty much, right?
Yeah, kind of like a collective type of thing. That's the idea behind it, you know. Maybe it would grow into something like that in the future. But for now, it's just my little crazy, you know.
To keep the Mojo finances separate from your finances.
Exactly.
The flow is only one way. It's only you into the Mojo finances.
Right.
We have another question about the print comic, which, so the print comic is sort of ancillary to the video comic. What's your vision for those two forms? And I feel like I can start to answer that. I can kick you off. You've been working on that comic for a while. Like you were already working on that, like writing it when like we were hanging out at Pixar when we first met. And so like you've been working on developing the story for years, and it was like the comic was a way to get the story out there without waiting for the finances to make a feature, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was just So this has seeds. This is one of the reasons I wanted to do this with you, because you know you had a lot to a big hand in just the genesis of all this. You know, Mojo is something that came out of our discussions that we were talking about, like, man, and you know, we were always talking about like storytelling and like how do you start storytelling, because you know it's a skill like anything else. You got to get better at it. Like what's a really easy way to start doing that without having to worry about overhead, about a lot of money and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, the practice, like where it's like, yeah, you can't just come out of the gate and do something great. You have to practice. You have to refine the form.
Exactly. And Mojo is my way of like, you know, let me test out my storytelling and really, you know, try that out. So you know, I started doing that, and I did pretty well. I mean, I actually, for someone who didn't really like blast it, like it did pretty well, you know. But the thing that was always like standing out where people were just kind of excited about the, you know, the premise, like, oh, this is really cool. And I actually jumped into this whole new realm because remember we were talking. This is around that. This isn't Meat Love. This is
Sweet Pea, Hitchhiker,
Horizon. Oh no, it was Sweet Pea. You were working on Sweet Pea, and it was Horizon.
Yeah.
So you were working on Horizons, and which was your short film, and it was on Horizon set, and you were like, I was like, man, Emma, I'm so inspired. Like, I want to start doing some of this because I'd love to, you know. And you were like, you should pick something simple and just do it because you might try it and you might not like it. And I was like, yeah, that's really smart. So I decided like, and you're like, oh, you should pick something that you already have a story for. So I'm like, I'm gonna do a teaser for my comic because I was working on, you know, the third book at the time, and I'm like, I'll work on a teaser for the comic, and you know, it's gonna be awesome. Well, the teaser
and at the same time finish the third comic,
right? Which is just like crazy. But the teaser ended up kind of consuming a lot of my, like, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I was enjoying it so much. And then my time came out, I was like, man, I really want to do more. So to answer the question, like, in my mind, like, I would love for it to transform into this. You know, this, if people aren't ready to see the animation, I'll continue to, you know, continue the stories, you know, as the book. But I would love to just like, you know, transition into, you know, something like this format, like an animated format, you know.
Yeah. Okay, we got a question. Do you feel Mojo will become a role model for young kids? Or I actually have a follow-up question. Turn your laptop like a little bit towards your bookshelf.
Oh, a little bit?
Just a little bit. Or is he more like the Iron Giant up there?
Oh.
Like, is Mojo, do you see him as like the main character, like as like the hero, or is he kind of like a catalyst for creepy?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've always seen it as like an ensemble type of thing. It's about both of them, and they both have really big arcs, and they both grow. But that said, he really does, like, you know, the reason that as I was writing this, I always saw like, yeah, Mojo's the hero. But then as I was writing, I was like, actually, the person who has the biggest change is Creepy, and like she's the one who learns the most. And so he actually ends up becoming like, yeah, someone who helps her transform. He has his own issues. He's got a lot of stuff going on. But for right now, like, Creepy's pretty front and center, at least for this first part of it. And then, you know, like I said, it is also like a companion. Like, it's about both of them. They both have their issues. There's a lot of mirroring. There's a lot of mirroring that goes on in the story. So, yeah. Did I answer all the questions?
Yes, I think that answered. So maybe he's not.
And do I see him as
a role model?
Oh yeah. So a role model. I mean, honestly, he's very heroic. The dude's very heroic, you know. But there's a reason for that. Like, as his story develops, you will see like what his deal is. And he's very interesting. He has a very interesting secret. I'm gonna keep that secret.
Okay. Question: where can we get the comic book?
So right now, I've been kind of doing the webcomic thing. You can actually go to www.bookofmojo.com, and you can read the first issue for free there.
Which link, if you just want to go to Book of Mojo on Twitter, I just linked to that, so you can go there too.
Or you can. I actually have a Gumroad store that I should probably post, where you can like get both. I just I'm, like I said, I'm really bad about getting the word out there because I'm one of those type of people who's like, I don't want to bother people. And my friends always tell me, No one's gonna know if you don't tell them. So.
That's a really hard thing too. I feel like, okay, so like when you're working in art and you're like, you're like working on something because you're passionate about it, like that consumes you. You're not like the kind of person who's like, I'm gonna be rich and famous. Like that is 0% of what's driving you, is like just like, okay, I want to get this done. I want to get it out. I want people to love it. But like that part of like, I want to get it done generally like overwhelms all the like get it out and people love it part. Like that's the down the road, but it really is something that's like, oh, okay. There are people who love to do that part of it too. That's just, you gotta team up.
Yeah, the promotion part has been the hardest for me because people get mad at me. They're like, no one's gonna know about this if you don't tell people. I'm like, you're right, you know. But I'm getting better about it. I'm definitely getting better because, like, you know, if you want to get better at anything, you need to get that feedback, right? So getting it out there, paying attention to like how people react to it, and then adjusting and then doing it all over, right? Like keep, you know, like, oh, what didn't they like? Take all those notes, change that, get it out there, you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. Jess is asking, can we see the animated teaser online anywhere? Which also a link on the Book of MOJO Twitter. It's also on bookofmojo.com where you can find the comic, the first issue or the second issue. Are they both up?
The first issue's up. You can get both issues on Gumroad, which I'll send the link out for after the broadcast. But yeah, you can only see the first one in webcomic form right now. So.
Okay. Okay, so we got a question from Paul.
Yeah.
If I back something on the campaign, how will the money be used? Which I think is a great in on talking about the finances of filmmaking.
Yes. So just so you guys know, so like I come from like a feature background, and a lot of the guys who are helping out are like, you know, feature level, and the quality. I want the quality to be super high on the show. You know, because I'm really passionate about the idea. I want it to look really great. So a lot of the money is actually going into production. Like I put a graph on the IndieGoGo site, but it's amazing. Like a lot of production is animation. You know, so hiring, you know, getting my friends to like help out on this and getting them paid. That's where a lot of money is going to. And then there's things like and like a lot of post-production, you know, that's where a good bit of the money is going to.
And that's like something that I know, like I've done Kickstarter and raised money for a short film, and I've financed short films myself. I work in live action instead of doing animation, but it gets to a point where like for the teaser, you were able to like pull in favors and spend not have to spend a lot of money on it, which like that's where I was for a while with just like getting people excited and like, yeah, come work on my film. But at a certain point, like, yeah, if you want that quality and if you want people to want to work with you, like if you want to take it to the next level, you have to take it to the next level in terms of like that you're being professional about it.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, like, man, that teaser turned out awesome. It didn't, you know, I didn't even really officially get to finish it. That was, you know, that was proof of concept. But I cashed in a lot of favors. I worked those guys really hard, and you know, pretty much almost gave them nothing. And I don't want to do that again. Like people work hard for like on this stuff, and I want to show them that I appreciate that. And you know, I want to get them paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then this is like the first step towards like getting a deal with a distributor and doing the show for real. That's like, okay, yeah, so it's real from the start. Like that you want the quality to be sustainable, that
legitimacy, right? It gives a lot of legitimacy to so
we have a question of what do you guys do when you hit a wall while writing a story? Is it better to just push through and finish and then rewrite, or take time away from it?
Oh, we always run into this, don't we? Like most of our conversations, we chat online. Me and Emma chat online all the time, and we're always talking. Oh, you want to? I'll let you go first. I'll let you go first.
Oh man. Okay. Well, like I feel like there's kind of two types of hitting a wall while you're writing a story. One happens if you don't get through the first draft fast enough, which
Yeah.
is you start to question like there are a lot of problems with this idea, and then you just like pick it apart. And that's when you like do too much development on it.
Yes.
And then the other kind is when you're writing along and then you're suddenly like, there is no reason for anyone to be doing anything. And that's usually like a stakes issue where it's like, okay, well, like what do these characters have to lose? Like what's the worst thing that could happen to any of them? And then like go back to that and be like, okay, what bad can happen to them that would motivate them? Because like writing a story is generally just following what a character is like what a character is trying to do. For me, it's following what a character is trying to do, and usually when I get stuck, it's because I'm not giving them enough problems.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you know, that we always talk about the vomit pass, right? Like that pass where you get everything out.
Yeah, just blow through, and like when you get to a place where you're like, I don't know what happens here, just like the characters are like, I don't know why, but my feelings have changed. And
right. And you know that's the sprint. You know, like you try to sprint and get that out really quickly. For me, I'm actually pretty good at doing that. Getting it. It's that transitional part where like for example, I remember when for Book of MOJO, I had you and like a bunch of people like Derek Thompson and Angie all in that meeting, and you guys were ripping it. You're just like ripping it. What about this? And that for me is the hard part because it's like, you know, when you're building something, it's like, it's like this precious thing, you know, and you're like, you know, you're trying to, but you're not hard enough on it. Like I know, you know, like
then suddenly when somebody's like, I didn't understand, were those guys like police officers? You're like, yeah, they were police. They were driving a squad car. What are you talking about? Oh, I never said they were police officers. Something like that.
But that's like so crucial, you know what I mean? Like that's like having that critical eye. Like that helped me so much. I mean, the story changed so much after that. So I think a lot of it's kind of trying to rebound from something like that. But when I'm stuck, I mean, when I'm stuck on a part, I don't know, I kind of leave it alone. Like I like to walk away and I'm like, well, I'll work on this other section because sometimes when you push on something too hard, it just breaks. Like it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
You take your mind off it for a little bit, or you like I re-up, you know what I mean? Like I'll go play video games or something like that, and or you know, go play with my daughters or something, you know, just get my mind off the scene or off the, you know, the problem.
Which leads into another question we've got here. How do you balance work, personal work, like Mojo, and your family life? There isn't enough time.
No, there's not. So it's really tough. And I feel guilty a lot of times. Since I've been doing this, like I really try to like focus on them when I get my chances and like, all right, well, I'm gonna make sure the quality of time that I've got is like, you know, really intense and like I'm really connecting with them. But it can be hard. Like when I was doing, I think it was a lot easier when I was just doing the comic book and then working and then like, you know, in the family when I got home. Now that I'm doing this, right now, like I'm taking time off to like just focus on this because you can't do all of them at the same time. Like you definitely, there's a point where you're gonna have to like draw that line in the sand and like, okay, well, you know what? I want to push on this idea, you know, really hard. But my family is just not gonna survive it if I try to do that and a job and this. You know, they'll survive, but they'll just be super pissed and bad. And then,
they'll be in therapy.
Oh, my girls, they let me know when they're not happy. You know, it's like they'll be like, they'll come in, they'll see me, and they're like, "I want mommy." You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh,
like who are you?"
Yeah. No, they know who I am. They just look at me like they know, like, you know, yeah. I know you're not spending time with me. They're brutal, man. But it's good. I think it's good for me, you know, like it's hard. Like you got to step back and like realize like, well, this is part of the reason why I'm doing it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just, that's why like, it's like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to like take time off to really focus on doing it. If it works and takes off, awesome. I keep rolling that, and that becomes my thing. Like, then that will become the job. If not, I roll in and like try to regroup at a later time, do something later. But too many things on your plate at once. I tried when I was younger. It's really dumb. I think when you do all that stuff, you don't produce as much.
Yeah. Like for a long time, I was doing the outside of work projects and work and had zero personal life.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
yeah, learned a lesson there. We've got a question. Can you talk a little bit about your process of animating from a technical standpoint? This is from a live action filmmaker who's talking about like rack focus, lighting, shadows, smoke. Like this stuff is tricky to capture with a live action camera, but you are creating them from scratch. So like, how?
That's a good question. How do we?
That's something you really have to plan out completely. You have to plan out everything.
Well, the big thing to know is that like animation, and especially, I mean, both 2D and 3D, but especially 3D, is all set up. You know what I mean? It's all set up in planning. The more planning you can do the more you do that planning in the beginning, the less likely you're going to run into issues later. So you got to front load things. That means you got to kind of have a plan going in. There can be some amount of exploration, but you can get lost in the weeds, right? Yeah, I'm sure you know that. You can get lost in the weeds for a while.
Yes.
In animation.
Yeah, it looks like crap for a long time. Like live action, you can sometimes be like, "Oh my god, straight out of the camera, that looks amazing." But animation, you're like, "Why?"
Like sometimes you want that so bad in animation. Like I remember being on the set with you a few times, and you had a camera up, and I look at it, and I'm like, "Oh come on, that looks amazing." Yeah. It's frustrating, but it's all planning. It's like and it's who you get. Like the guy who's doing our camera stuff is like, he started out like in live action. He knows film and that sort of thing. He's been working at Blue Sky for a while. Dude knows cameras. You know what I mean? He knows cameras. He knows all that stuff. He can look at the boards and he goes like, "Oh, well, that's probably going to be about a 55 millimeter lens. You know what? The way you're shooting that, I wouldn't shoot that. Like I would shoot it with a wider lens. Like he can just see that.
Oh, awesome.
Stuff, so he just knows. I mean, and that comes with experience. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's all that pre-production, that pre-planning. Super important.
We got a question. How is the transition from animator to story artist?
Man, what a crazy road. It's tough. They're two not completely. They're two intense skill sets. You know what I mean? Like, I actually started out my career as a story artist. I was storyboarding on VeggieTales back in the day. And I made the transition. Well, I started in school when I was in college. And then I made the transition into animation at Blue Sky Studios, basically, when I worked on Ice Age. And it was really tough. So I started in story. I worked in animation for a while. Once I was in feature, I'm like, this is awesome. But then there was that part of me that's like, but I really miss telling stories. I love storytelling. I love it. And I was like, I kept thinking like, I want to get back into it. How do I get back into story? And it's just really hard because if you're a good animator, if you're a solid animator, they want to keep you in animation. They don't want you to go into story. You know what I mean? Like, and
it's that thing of like, if you're good at something, people want you to keep doing that.
Yeah. And if you're a story artist, if you're an animator that wants to be a story artist, you have to be an excellent story artist. I mean, you have to be really, really good. Am I saying that I'm really, really good? I think I'm just persistent. I think that I've got a lot of passion for it, and I think I've got solid skills, and I'm easy to get along with. I think that's how I was able to make the transition.
Well, but I think another thing that like I would always notice talking to you, and like why we would go and get the coffee is like when I would try and talk to some animators, like there's just a different way of thinking about story that when you work in the storyboarding department, you have to think about things in like a kind of a disposable way. where you like hold an idea in your head and you kind of like turn it around and look at it from different angles and then you chuck it. Where I know in trying to talk story with some animators, it would be like fixating on one thing or like talking about one single moment, which I would be like, yeah, I'm bored of that now. Let's move on.
So funny, like we can't get rid of that. That's so funny, but that doesn't help us with our character. The character's not working. Oh, but it's such a funny bit, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like, yeah, but that's like the thing that to be a great animator, you have to focus on and just be like, this is like the most important thing. I'm working on this. Yeah.
And that's another thing too with the skill set. Like I've noticed that like when I'm animating, I become like everything's laser focused because I'm concentrating on the art and like all this like, you know, I'll play a scene over and over again. And some people, they see me, they start to go crazy because, you know, I'm just playing it back over and over. And I'm having that laser focus on everything to make sure everything's
working. Or it's like, adjust, play again. Adjust, play again.
Exactly. But story is like the big picture. So it's like you're thinking about everything and you can't sweat anything for too long because, you know, you're just trying to like make all these big pieces move. And you're actually working big to small, right? Like you're working on these big concepts, you know. So I find myself when I do story, I'm doing a lot of mulling. A lot of time spent doing this. Okay, you know.
Yeah, or like brainstorming on a piece of paper where you're like, what could I? Yeah, what goes here?
Yeah, exactly.
We got a question here. What was your favorite Oscar-nominated short this year?
Oh, that's a good question.
I didn't see any of the animated ones, but I can answer live action, so you can answer animated.
All right, so I'll say for my animated, man, I really liked, I didn't see all of them. I saw Feast and I saw The Dam Keeper. I really liked The Dam Keeper. I thought that was really awesome. I loved Feast as well. But yeah, Dam Keeper was really cool. I thought it was just the way it was done, and it was really this year was tough. This year was really, really tough. And it doesn't help that like I'm friends with both the guys, so it's like don't put me on the spot, people. Don't make me choose.
Yeah, totally.
I like them both. They were both awesome. No. I think that like Feast was beautiful. Like it looked really, really great, and I enjoyed it. Like you know. My daughters thought it was really great. Like they just enjoyed the story and stuff like that. I like Dam Keeper because it's pretty deep. You know, I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, so just different reasons for different reasons.
Mm-hmm. The live action Oscar shorts. There was one called Boogaloo and Graham, which was about these two Irish kids who get pet chickens, and that was amazing.
That sounds awesome. I'll have to check it out.
And then there was one called Butter Lamp that was just like really, really funny, but kind of tongue-in-cheek, deadpan. Yeah, about a photo op. It was really bizarre, but good. Let's see, more questions. We've got about 10 minutes left. So ask your questions, vote them up. You can also ping us on Twitter, and we'll see it over there, and we'll answer from there too if this Q&A thing is getting too clogged up. We got Tim Toll asking, "Have you looked at Patreon to help with funding the comic?"
Actually, I just started looking into Patreon like this year, like a little bit.
What is Patreon?
So Patreon, I'm still trying to. If I'm understanding, people can correct me on this. If I understand it. It's like basically you can put yourself on Patreon. You say, hey, these are the things that I'm working on. Do you want to help support me while I do this? And people can kind of like say like, hey, well, cool. If you can, you know, if you're gonna put, say I'm a webcomic guy, if you put up, you know, I'll give you $5 every week that you put up a comic on like Mondays and Thursdays or whatever. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a model that like some people just do for their webcomics, right?
Right. I mean, and it's really cool. I just didn't know like if I was, because I know a lot of it, like some people come to Patreon and they have like a big following. I don't really have a huge following yet. So I was wondering like, oh, would I be able to drum like a decent sized following by getting on there? So I've been researching it, but I hadn't really jumped in yet. So it looks like an interesting model. Yeah.
What is your favorite reward that you're offering on IndieGoGo, and why IndieGoGo and not Kickstarter?
Okay, both good questions. So my favorite reward, there's two actually, two different levels. I like having stuff. Oh man, those are three things that are really cool. All right, so the coolest thing are the 3D prints. Those 3D prints are gonna look amazing. Like we've been posing out the characters, and it's gonna be awesome. I'm a huge maquette sucker. Like I love maquettes and that sort of thing, and they're just gonna be awesome. They're gonna look really, really great.
Nice.
And I also like that keychain. It's so cool. Like one of our modelers, Sung, she did like a little mock-up of it, and I'll post a picture. It's so sick. I'm like, dude, I'm totally gonna have one of those. It's just and the books are gonna be beautiful, by the way. The books are gonna be fantastic. Both like we're doing an art of book where it's like we're just compiling a lot of the artwork that's done, and a lot of development art, even talking a little bit about some of the process. But we're doing this other one. It's called Street Magic. It's like the art of mojo, like getting people to kind of you're submitting a piece.
Yeah.
And I just love seeing how people reinterpret your stuff, and like seeing how people are going to reinterpret the world. So that one's going to be a really fun book as well. So those are my favorites, I think, my standouts.
Yeah. And then why IndieGoGo and not Kickstarter? Like, did you look at both? Like, what are the kind of ups and downs of each one?
I looked at both. I felt like a lot of films were really funding well on IndieGoGo, and they also have really good support. I hadn't looked as much into Kickstarter, support wise, but they were really IndieGoGo was really good about kind of contacting me and helping me. Like once they found out I was doing it, and they gave me some really great feedback about putting my page together and that sort of thing. So
awesome.
And then there was a really cool thing, like the whole Vimeo partnership was really appealing too. So I haven't applied for that. I think there's something you can apply for or whatever, but Vimeo, they has saying if they're interested, I think they'll match donations, but I think if you're willing to kind of go to their model, their what is it, their
their distribution. Yeah, they've got a Vimeo on demand kind of thing.
Yeah. So a lot of it's just that's really one of the big reasons, because I'm a big fan of Vimeo and that sort of thing. So I wanted to. It felt right. So yeah.
We've got another question. Are there internship opportunities?
I got a couple emails too from people. Maybe it all depends. We're really solidifying our infrastructure right now. So I'm gonna say maybe.
Yeah, that's something that's since it's kind of spread out, it would be hard to, just when I'm thinking about production, it would be really hard to figure out what to put an intern on that they would get a lot out of if they're not actually in Los Angeles.
Right. I think if we did, it probably would be if you're in Los Angeles, you can help us out.
Yeah.
That said, we do have someone helping out we don't have any interns yet, so but once the production pipeline sort of solidifies, we definitely might need some. So I say just keep touching.
When do you plan to get rewards out?
Okay. So we're talking to people who are helping us out with fulfillment, and it's probably going to be July, August. That's kind of around the time a lot of
cool
getting out. So yep. But
so that's a 3 month.
Anything related to sorry about that. Anything related to the actual production, like the pilot, and that won't be coming until the end of the year, because we have to produce it. You know, we have to. So
Yeah.
you're looking like, you know, the DVD or like, you know, the screening and all that. It's like probably going to be in the year, beginning of next year, or something like that. Early next year.
Let me see.
Cool.
I'm looking down through here through questions. I'm not seeing any new ones. Where can we get the comic book is still at the top. So again, we can kind of reiterate. Say, go to bookofmojo.com or your Gumroad. Will you post a link to that afterwards?
Yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah, and then maybe for people who came in a little late, we still got a lot of votes on do you think of yourself as a minority in animation, and has it been an advantage or a disadvantage?
Yeah, I can go back on that subject because it is a really deep subject. No, it's crazy. It's like, so, like I said, I've worked in features since nearly the beginning. Like I started at Big Idea, but I got a job at like Blue Sky, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you run into this thing where it's like, you know, I'm gonna do this, but like I'm gonna treat it like I'm just everybody else, right? Like I'm not gonna make a big deal about it, you know, because I want to be a self-made man and that sort of thing. But after a while, you're like, man, I don't really see anybody that looks like me at this level. You know what I mean? Like you know. So I just kind of found that like, man, that is really, really crazy. So, you know, I'm trying really hard to kind of like get, you know, myself seen, so I can, like, you know, like there are a few talks. I mean, I'm telling you, there are a few talks. I did a talk for Bobby Chu a couple of years back, and I got so much like people reaching out, like, "Oh man, it's so great to see an African American like working like I'm doing this now," and I, you know, I'm so inspired by this and blah blah blah. And for me, that was clinch. It's like, well, I have to stay at this level, and I have to stay relevant, so like I can, you know, like I want to be inspiring people to kind of do this, because, you know, there's a lot of crazy talk now about like diversity and that sort of thing. Like, is it too much diversity on TV, which is such a weird thing.
Oh yeah, that article, it was like, wait, what?
Yeah, like when I see, like, I'm just gonna straight up say right now, when I see Home come out, my daughters are super excited about that because they see somebody who has hair like they do. I'm just like, yeah, this is something that needs to happen, because everyone should, like, you know, the fact that this is an issue is just crazy. Like, you know, in America, it's supposed to be a melting pot. It's like, come on, it's like, I'm not asking for anything unreasonable. I just want something, like the things that I see at the theater and stuff like that, to reflect the world that's out, that we're living in, the world that's right outside. And, you know, there's a little bit of tolerance and a little bit of, like, you know, such respect for human beings, you know, like, it's just crazy. So me, I'm doing this. A lot of like the reason that I'm doing this is like, you know, it's like, no, I'm just going to do it, and I'm just going to show people want to see it, and people are going to come, and I'm looking for a point where this is not going to be an issue anymore. Like, hopefully, you know, other people start doing stuff like this, and it just becomes a non-issue. Because it's like, you know, there's part of me that's always worried, like, I don't want to be branded as like, you know, oh, he does the black cartoon. That guy's the, you know, he's the black director, which is, it's a thing. It can happen, you know, that happens to people. I want people to be like, I don't, you know, in the beginning, you know, people will say that, but then after a while, like, no, he just does good movies, or he just does, you know, entertaining things. And people are going to want to see it because, you know, it's true, right? I mean, people want these things that are true.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah, for the children.
For the children. Do it for the children.
Seriously.
Well, that's actually a great note to end on, I think.
Cool.
It's like 2 minutes early, but unless there's any last minute questions that show up at the top right here.
Yeah, let's see. You guys upvote something. If you want to hear something, this is the time to do it.
Oh, we've got a volunteer for copy editing. Volunteer? Maybe
Ooh.
job submission. I don't know.
Cool.
From Brandon.
Oh, hey, awesome. Is it our friend Brandon or someone else, Brandon?
No, different Brandon.
We still love you, Brandon.
Not our friend yet. But yeah, thank you everybody for
yeah, thanks for coming out.
Yeah. And there's still questions showing up. Maybe we'll do something like this next week or the week after. If you enjoyed it, let us know on Twitter. What? Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, let us know on Twitter. Next week we're actually going to be at WonderCon, so I'm going to be strolling around. Okay. And I might be giving out stuff, I might not, or whatever. Come look for me, and there's other people in our entourage. And if you have questions, you can ask me there too. So we'll have stuff for you guys too. So cool.
All right, great. Thanks, guys.
Yep. All right, take care, guys. We are signing off. Are we still on?
Yep, we're still live.
And I think now you have control of it, so you have to.
I have control.
Maybe, I don't know. I just took a photo. How do you turn this thing off?
Sorry, you guys. We're gonna learn some more about Google Hangouts.
We're watching that video. That's what we're gonna do. All right, guys. Well, thanks. And just if you want to watch us fumble around for a little bit, go ahead. Always see if we can figure this out.
Control room.
Because I don't want to lose the. I want it to stop. I don't want to. Oh.
Okay, I took away your video.
Okay, that works. I think there's a way to stop it. Otherwise, like, I don't want to leave call, but
it just keeps on going forever.
I know, this is bizarre. I'm clicking the control room. See, before there was like down here at the bottom, there was like a little thing that said stop broadcasting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and now it is gone.
Help. I found a button.
Oh, here we go. Found it.